What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HogSports.com, HAWGsports.com. I should say Merry Christmas. This is the last show that we'll have until the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. We're going to bring in Danny West to talk a little bit about everything going on with the transfer portal, everything that's transpired so far, what might be coming up as well. Connor Goodson is going to join us at the end of the show to talk a little bit about Razorback basketball. And we're also going to have Jarret Johnson from Inside the Red Raiders, the 24/7 sports site dedicated to covering Red Raiders athletics, to help us break down this Liberty Bowl. All that and more on today's episode of Hog Sports Live. So many ways to watch and listen to the show. We're on Apple Podcasts. Throw us that 5-star review if you haven't taken a moment to do so. We're also on X. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Subscribe, follow, like, comment, do all those things. Help us get our message out there by doing the little things that help us. Also, Hog Sports right now is 50% off. So a great time to sign up if you're interested in all the portal news and, of course, Razorback basketball, the bowl game coming up. Some of you maybe are a little indifferent on that. That's understandable. But a lot of interesting stuff going on at Hog Sports right now. So join the #1 independent sports on Arkansas sports recruiting and transfer portal for half the regular rate. Get unmatched insider Razorback coverage for the equivalent of $103 a week, $448 a month, and build at just $53.70 for the entire year. No promo code required. Just go to HAWGsports.com and sign up. We're going to get to Danny here just in a few more minutes. But first, Arkansas basketball, 95-67 winners over North Carolina A&T. Arkansas is on a 5-game winning streak right now, by the way. They got Oakland next on December 30th, so a bit of a gap. They've had a bit of gap between these games. They had Central Arkansas on December 14th, North Carolina A&T on December 21st, and then Oakland on December 30th, and then another smaller gap, just 5 days until they faced Tennessee and Knoxville to open SEC play on January 4th. Arkansas baseball not that far off either. February 14th, they have a 4-game series with Washington State, and then the college baseball series in Arlington against Kansas State, TCU, and Michigan. So not too far off from baseball. We're expanding our baseball coverage at Hog Sports this year with Kevin Bohannon. Liberty Bowl, Memphis, Tennessee, Simmons Bank, Liberty Stadium, December 27th. That's a Friday, 6 p.m. on ESPN. Liberty Bowl Stadium is actually, not demolished, but they're doing a lot of work to it. So seating capacity is greatly reduced from, I think it's over 50,000. But I always thought it was a really interesting looking stadium, the way it's shaped. But they're doing a lot of work to it, trying to modernize it and stuff. But it's going to be, like next year when Arkansas plays at Memphis. Yeah, Arkansas is playing at Memphis. But next year when they play at Memphis, it'll still be rough looking. Arkansas is -1.5 right now on Bet Saracen. So they're the favorite, which is interesting. Maybe they view it as a little more of a home game for Arkansas, being that it's in Memphis. But Arkansas is -1.5 right now. Texas Tech has the #1 ranked transfer portal class in the country, by the way, with 17 commitments. Arkansas is 13th. Now, what I would guard against – no, 14th. They have 13 commitments. They're 14th. But they also have like 5 guys who haven't been ranked. But, guys, I love the ranking job that we do at 24/7. I'm not sold on our rankings right now. Just relative to each other. Like, for example, does anybody think Varkey's Gums is as good as Ty Washington, who are both, entered the portal? And I'm looking at it from like not so much guys coming in, but the guys that I know that are leaving. Like, I don't think TJ Metcalf should be an 86 overall. I think he's a really good player. Or his brother should be an 84. I think his brother's got a lot of potential. But, like, Varkey's Guns being ranked ahead. Like, does anybody think Nico Dabier and, let's see. Does anybody think Nico Dabier is a better end than Isaiah Satania is a wide receiver? I would think they're pretty similar, but Dabier's ranked higher. Or Addison Nichols. Does anybody think Addison Nichols is a better center than Isaiah Satania was a wide receiver? Brad Spence is an 86. Brad Spence, I think, is better than most of those guys I just mentioned as a linebacker, but he's way down at 86. So you get what I'm saying. Like, Arkansas is 14th in the transfer portal right now. I think we do a great job at a lot of things. I'm not in love with our transfer portal rankings, at least on Arkansas's going out end. So that's how that is. But Arkansas has 13 transfers. There's been a lot of activity. Again, we're going to talk to Danny here in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, actually. For those of you who don't follow Danny West, you can follow him. He's traveling, so bear with us. I've got noise going on in the background. I got some construction going on. We got people traveling all over the place. So we're going to go to Danny West here. Danny, if you can hear me, we are with you, buddy. How's it going?
I'm good. How's everybody? Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. We've already knocked out 2 of them, Danny. So people notice I was a little bit absent last. So this is what's happened for us last week. We've had our roof redone again at our new house. We had it at our old house, and now our new one needed it. So we've had our roof redone. It has been a week of hammering above me, so I didn't do the show last week just because it was too distracting. And then we had 2 Christmases this weekend. You know, I was a kid who grew up on 4 Christmases kind of deal. So we knocked out 2 of those this weekend, but I'm back in the saddle again today, and I understand you're traveling, Danny. So thanks for being with us today. Danny,
yeah, yep.
There's been a lot of activity, especially this weekend. I mean, it was just kind of a flurry on Saturday. What are your thoughts on just overall transfer portal, maybe how things have gone and where things are headed?
Well, we'll see how the day shapes up here. I think they're in position now to get some more good news, maybe here in a little while, maybe this afternoon. So we'll see on that, but still watching a few guys there. I felt like Trey, maybe a couple of misses last week kind of took the wind out of people's sails a little bit. So we'll talk about that. But Jarret obviously was the big one. Literally, USC. Figuratively, however you want to say it. But he's a big name, and people get excited about the former 4-stars and top 100 types that come from Bama and Georgia. It's easy to get excited about those guys, but you missed on both. Jarret, of course, picked USC. He's the 6'5", 350 defensive tackle, young guy, and kind of the same deal with Kendrick Law, the wide receiver, former top 100 from Alabama, transferred over to Kentucky. At one point, maybe a week ago, 10 days ago, it looked really good for Arkansas to get both of those guys. And if so, those are the types that really kind of move the needle for you, in terms of perception and rankings, things that get everybody truly excited about a class. But you missed on them. So what's the next best thing? They got David Oak, the transfer defensive tackle from Abilene Christian. I know people see that name and hear it and they go, wow, we're settling again. But you beat USC for that one, and North Carolina and a few others. South Carolina was in there for him, so a good player there. But how do you make up for Kendrick Law? I mean, we're sitting here watching a few names. Obviously, they've already got a couple. Raylan Sharp from Fresno State, and Cam Shanks, a 5'8", explosive type out of UAB transferring over. But got to go get some big-time guys, and we're sitting here watching Courtney Crutchfield now, familiar name, from Missouri, obviously. And Omega Blake, one of my favorite names in the portal, Trey. I think he's, great name. He is an alpha, and he's 6'2", 180, had a breakout year this year. Originally from South Carolina, Rock Hill, South Carolina. He started his career, the first 3 seasons were spent with the Gamecocks there, and transferred to Charlotte and just blew up this year, man. He's second in the country with 24.84 yards per catch. That's just incredible. Then you start breaking that down even further. What I find crazy about this guy and the season he had, in his first 4 weeks, Trey, he averaged 13.25 yards a game. And in the last 8, he averaged 92.75 with 8 touchdowns in 8 games. So, I mean, he just flipped a switch. And if he can do that consistently, that's what you're looking for. A big play threat. And as of right now, buddy, I think they're in a good spot for Omega Blake. We'll see.
Well, Danny, if they could get Omega Blake and Courtney Crutchfield, I think people would feel pretty good about where things are heading out. Maybe there's a lot of potential with Crutchfield, who hasn't, obviously produced yet. But, Raylan Sharp and Cam Shanks, both of those, they're smaller wide receivers, but both those guys have been very productive. And that's the things that you kind of look for in a transfer portal to me. Like, you want guys that maybe were really highly regarded, who are younger, maybe haven't had that opportunity yet, or guys that have been really productive. And, you might end up with a guy like Tyrone Broden, who didn't really have a great career at Arkansas from a smaller school. You might end up with an Andrew Armstrong, who did have a really good career at Arkansas, who came from the FCS level. So, you might end up with a John Ridgeway. You
never know.
You never know what you might end up. But those are the kind of things that I look for when it comes to transfers. Also, like older guys. I mean, getting Walker from Oklahoma at cornerback, Jordan Young. Two guys that are redshirt seniors. I like guys like Anthony Switzer. Maybe they're not a guy that's going on to the NFL, but they played a lot of football, and
That's right.
those can be good, productive players for you. So, yes, it's great to get NFL guys, obviously. I'm not saying that. Like, you need guys like that on your roster to compete in the SEC. But it's also, I think it's nice when I look at Arkansas's scholarship distribution and I see 17 redshirt seniors. That to me is that's usually the sign of a good team. At least it was in the past. So they still got a lot of work to do, Danny. I've got them at 80 scholarship players right now. That leaves 5. They're going to have some more guys leave eventually. There's going to be more players that enter the transfer portal that are in the college football playoff and whatnot. So to me, like, still got some work to do, obviously. But you mentioned Omega, Courtney Crutchfield, Danny. I started hearing like early mid-season, Courtney Crutchfield is going to leave Missouri. And I didn't say a lot about it just because I didn't kind of want to jinx it and stuff. But that stuff has been coming out of the Pine Bluff area for a long time now. And when he hit the portal, I immediately went and put a crystal ball pick in for Arkansas.
I like it. Yeah, that one's hey, they're getting kind of easy to predict.
Yeah.
I mean, even a year out, you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it coming a little bit, but I want to go back a little bit and make a note. You brought up a good point, I thought, with the production. You talk about you look for guys who may be a former top 100. They've got NFL caliber type player, but haven't produced yet. And that's kind of the deal with Jarret a little bit. I think Arkansas probably, going back to the money conversation, which is where it always ends up. I think they probably could have paid and outbid USC for this guy. But again, I think we're seeing a case where they're going, well, if we're going to pay that much, we kind of want to see the production on paper. And it's kind of the same deal with Kendrick a little bit.
Oh, yeah, Kendrick Law. Yeah, I mean, some of the numbers that I've heard for a guy with 10 receptions last year is astronomical. Yeah,
exactly. So we've seen Kentucky throw out some big bucks for guys like that. And my thinking is, man, I know it's easy for everybody to disagree or hate whatever Pittman says right now, but I think there's a lot of truth in that too. You kind of have to be smart. I know it helps you more from a perception standpoint to load up on names that everybody's familiar with, transfers from the SEC. And I don't know, I just see it a little bit differently. I think you can find value. Now, I get it, man. You want the best players, but there's some value in a guy like David Oak coming over from Abilene Christian. He's got a little bit of the taste of NFL, future maybe. And same deal with Omega now. He's put himself in a position where he's going to have a lot of attention if he'll take that next step, like we've seen with Andrew, like he did. Now, there's no guarantee any of these guys are going to do it, but if you think about Pittman, man, the one thing even the biggest Pittman haters can say about him, they've done pretty well in the portal. In the last 3 or 4 years. It's not like they've just missed a ton of guys.
Well, they're all SEC guys or portal guys, but part of that's because of some of the struggles they've had in recruiting. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But speaking of that, Danny, we'd be remiss without mentioning the drama with Braylon Russell. I mean, the wildest running back recruitment, transfer portal, whatever you want to say, story.
It might be dadgum of the year for 2024.
Well, I was going to say since Alex Collins' mom stole his letter of intent and ran off with it on National Signing Day, like back in, when was that? 2013, something like that. Yeah. So, in a decade, this is the wildest thing that's happened. But, and I've seen a lot of interesting comments on this from people like slamming Braylon or, his family and all this kind of stuff, or we don't want him back. It's a different world out there. Braylon Russell, first of all, 19 years old, and has got a lot of people around him telling him different things and stuff. But he is a guy that has a window to make a lot of money right here. And you never know as a running back when it's going to be taken from you. It can be taken. And he's got a window here. and he's trying to capitalize on it, And so I think that that's important to note, that we're talking about kids, we're talking about a different era, and
I don't know about the kid
I don't necessarily
thing. I don't know
love
about
the way
kid
it's broken
thing anymore,
down, Danny, but this is the way it's happened.
I don't know about the kid thing anymore. It's a lot of money.
It is, but you're still 19, and I was an idiot, Danny.
Dude, I'm still an idiot 20 years later.
Remember when you thought you were like going to start suddenly like turn into an adult? Like it was just going to, like you're going to flip or something, but really you just feel the same.
Yeah. When do I get chest hair? Yeah, I remember.
I mean, mentally.
I get it. Yeah, no, I get it, man. Hey, you're right. He's had a lot thrown at him. Dude, I just think there's potential there for. I mean, it tells everybody in the locker room,
sure,
he can do that.
I know it does.
So I can do. And dude, I just think it's messy. And hey, I want what's best for Braylon. I want to make clear the dude's always been nice to me. I got nothing but respect for the guy. But man, this one here got ridiculous.
Yeah, it did.
That's just ridiculous.
There's no question. I don't love the way it played out. I think you got a lot of people in your ear telling you this and that. The bottom line is Braylon Russell can run the ball.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they need that. All right, Danny, anything else you can deliver here? We're going to go to Jarret Johnson here next.
I'll let Jarret. I've talked about Jamal Jarret enough, but hey, probably going to try to put out a podcast at some point this week if we can get one of those up. So maybe we can go in depth a little better over the holidays for these folks.
Sure. I mean, well, there's a lot of stuff.
A great Christmas.
All right, buddy. All right, appreciate you, Danny.
We'll see you.
All right, everybody, that's Danny West. You can follow Danny at Danny West 24/7. Does a great job for us there at Hog Sports. So obviously, there's a lot of information going on with the transfer portal, and we covered it for like 12 minutes there. There's so much more to go in depth on at Hog Sports, HawgSports.com. So if you really want the inside scoop, follow along. We've got things, scholarship distribution. We've got a timeline, basically a tracker of everything that's gone on, visit list, Danny's thoughts on all the commitments, all the misses, all that kind of stuff. It's all at HawgSports.com. So be sure to go over there during the Christmas break. All right, Jarret, we're going to bring you on here, buddy. Let me see. I've got a split screen here that I haven't done in a while. Multiple. Boom. Where are we at? Add to stage. There we go. Jarret, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on, Trey.
I appreciate you coming on. Sorry about trying to move you up a little bit this morning. It's Christmas. We got a lot of stuff going on around here, but I appreciate you hopping on.
I understand. I know the struggle.
Jarret, we'll just get right into it. By the way, if you want to follow Jarret, it's backwards. It's Johnson Jarret on X, but follow him. Any Red Raider fans out there, go to Inside the Red Raiders on the 24/7 Sports Network. He does a great job over there covering the team. Let's just hop right into it. I mean, you've got obviously, there's been a number of players that have entered the transfer portal, quarterback who's had surgery. What is the latest, I guess, with the availability report, whether it's players, opting to focus on the NFL, having surgery, hitting the transfer portal, just the key guys that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll start with Bear Morton, starting quarterback. And this was the first time since, I think, 2016, since Patrick Mahomes, that a quarterback started every game of the regular season for Texas Tech. They've had a string of seasons with a string of injuries at the quarterback position, so it was really important that Bear Morton, who missed a lot of time last year, but played through shoulder problems, that he played all year. That was a big reason why they were able to win 8 games, was the consistency at the quarterback position. But the youngin who is slated to start against Arkansas in Liberty Bowl is Will Hammond, and 4-star recruit, Elite 11 finalist, all that, put up monster numbers in the big-time high school ranks in Texas high school football. And he came in and played the entire second half against TCU, and his first 3 possessions led him to 17 points. So the guy has skills. He's young. He's making his first start, but a lot of Tech fans, honestly, are very excited to see what he can do. And then I think the next guy in terms of headline would obviously be Taj Brooks, Texas Tech's all-time leading rusher. He is actually listed on the depth chart to start in the Liberty Bowl. How much he's going to play and all that, with him being a fifth-year senior who is obviously getting ready to, make a run or hopefully get drafted in the NFL. But I actually expected him to sit out, but he's been practicing, and he's at least listed as a starter on the depth chart.
Mm-hmm. Jarret Johnson joining us from inside the Red Raiders. What are your thoughts on Joey Maguire as the head coach there? I think he's an interesting character. He was a guy that was born in Texarkana, Texas, used to go to Arkansas games in War Memorial Stadium. He was under Matt Rule, who I think is one of the most undervalued, despite what Nebraska did this season. I think he's one of the most undervalued head coaches in the country. Just your thoughts on what he's done at Texas Tech these last 3 years.
Yeah, I think he's done a great job. I mean, if you compare, honestly, Texas Tech has been irrelevant for years, since really the Mike Leach era. During Cliff Kingsbury, struggled just to make bowl games, didn't win a lot of bowl games, really wasn't relevant in November. And the last 3 years, Texas Tech has put up winning records, gone to bowl games, won bowl games, put up winning records in the Big 12 for the first time since the Mike Leach era, and he's done it in consecutive years now. So he's slowly, steadily building. Now, the next part is to really become relevant in terms of making it to a conference championship game. But in terms of Maguire overall, he is a classic. He reminds me a lot of Mac Brown. Back in the day when I was a newspaper guy, I worked at the 4-Star Telegram. I remember covering Texas Sun and covering Mac Brown, the CEO type, the kind of guy who has relationships throughout the state of Texas and beyond in the region. I actually covered Joey Maguire's Cedar Hill team some. I covered a lot of high school football. Some of the guys on the staff, like Kenny Perry, who worked at Arlington Bowie, was a very good head coach there, covered his team. So I'm very familiar with him and some of the guys on the staff, and they have great reputation throughout the state is the best way to say it. And he's the kind of guy that Joey Maguire, like Mac Brown, that when you have a conversation with him, he makes you feel like the most important guy in the room, that kind of dude. And remembers people he met 20 years earlier. He has that kind of knack and that kind of ability. And, I think, honestly, right now he's taken a big step in his head coaching development. He's replaced both coordinators. You mentioned being busy right now. Tech replaced both coordinators and has picked up 17 commits in the transfer portal. And oh, by the way, yes, there's a bowl game this week.
Yeah.
So he's been very busy. He's taken a step forward in his head coaching career with a lot of these changes, and I think he's a very good fit for Texas Tech at the right time.
Yeah. Well, I think you're being a little unfair to Cliff Kingsbury there. He never could get a good quarterback on campus.
Right. That's the one thing he did was nobody believed in Patrick Mahomes, except for Cliff Kingsbury. And, obviously he was right on
Baker
that.
Mayfield also was there.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, as a walk-on. Number one scoring offense in the Big 12, 38.6 points a game. Number one and total offense as well, 459.8. Really good through the air, solid on the ground. Just your thoughts on this offense, and also, I guess, a bit of a transition there, as you mentioned, with the coordinator.
So what was that last part of your question?
You said there's a bit of a transition with the coordinator also.
Yeah, Juice Johnson, the wide receivers coach, is going to be calling plays for the first time in his career, a young career. So I really had no idea what to expect from that. That's just kind of the part of the deal with bowl games with all the changes. Josh Kelly's a guy who's not playing. He was the leading receiver, 1,000-yard receiver for Texas Tech. He's getting ready for all the NFL workouts and everything. So that's, obviously a big loss there. Texas Tech's offense has been good, but how much will Taj play? New quarterback, leading receivers out. A couple of guys on the offensive line have hit the transfer portal. Now, Joey Maguire does something interesting. Even if guys are transferring out, he allows them to play if they want to. I know not many coaches do that. But that's not really going to be what we'll see on the offensive line. Your guy who started a lot of the games down the stretch at left tackle has transferred out. You're going to have a young freshman, Jacob Ponton, starting at left tackle, but you will have most of your starting offensive line in place, so that'll be good. You have some young running backs. Jacoby Williams is somebody I really like, true freshman, who is definitely a different change of pace kind of back than Taj Brooks. He's not a thumper. Taj is like 235 between the tackles, really shifty, methodical, patient runner. Jacoby Williams is the kind of dude like 185, 190, but solid, and he hits the hole quickly and is a high-end, quick burst kind of dude who showed some flashes when given an opportunity this year. So that those are some of the guys that I'll be looking for. They have some good tight ends. Jalen Conyers is somebody who's going to be featured. He's a senior who he'll line up the Wildcats some and do some things. Mason Tharp's a 6'9" tight end who has NFL hopes as well, 6'9", 270, and he can run. So they have some options still. They have some weapons, but, it's going to look a lot different than what we saw in the regular season.
Yeah, speaking of a lot different on the other side of the ball, you're looking at the second worst scoring defense in the Big 12, 34.5 points per game. Second worst total defense, 451.9. Decent against the run, but really bad against the pass. Just your thoughts on this Tech defense, and obviously stark contrast to what we've seen with the offense.
Yeah, the defense took a huge step back from the season before. You lost a lot of veteran guys, and it looked a lot different on the field. You know what I'm talking about, like the off-the-bus kind of look. You had guys that looked like, I hate the cliche, but it's true, grown men, and then you went to a bunch of young guys. And not only that, but there was one of those, and I hate when this happens, but the defense just never looked on the same page. It looked like they were running two defenses sometimes in the same play. Sometimes they try to get too cute and out-scheme folks. Now, it worked at times. You out-schemed Arizona State and beat a team that's in the playoffs and that won the Big 12 championship. But most times, obviously, you mentioned the stats, it did not work out. And so, that's why new coordinator, and they've added a lot of guys on defense via the transfer portal. So you do have Braylon Lux at corner, who's pretty good. Chapman Lewis at safety, who has potential, but he's young. He's one of those guys who will be in the wrong place at the wrong time sometimes, but they don't make a big interception or force a fumble. He's one of those, he's got a ways to go. But there is a dude who is expected to play, and he's coming back next year for his last year eligibility at inside linebacker named Jacob Rodriguez. And I would say he was probably the MVP of the team, probably even more so than Taj Brooks, which is a mouthful, because he, in games that Tech won against, say, Arizona State, Arizona, trying to think about some of the West Virginia, some of the games that Tech won where it got to a shootout. Oklahoma State's another great example. Got to a shootout, and Tech just needed a stop somehow, some way. He would come up with a big QB pressure that forced an interception, or he would force a fumble, or a big sack, something like that. He always seemed to make the play that Texas Tech needed if they were going to get off the field in the second half in a close game.
Okay, we're going to get you out with this one. Probably the toughest question given all the departures for both teams. How do you see this one playing out? You got a prediction?
Who's going to care more? I will say this. In the last couple of years, Joey Maguire has gotten his teams to play hard in bowl games, whether it be against Ole Miss, Cal, whatever. Tech seemed to have that, play faster and have that emotion, even though things looked very different in the bowl in terms of the roster in the bowl game. So, I mean, if that continues, then I like Texas Tech's chances, honestly. But I mean, bowl season, bowl games are weird. My question would be to you, Trey, is how much do you think you're like Arkansas's fan base and Tech fans really care about the game? Just being honest, like what in today's day and age, is this a big deal or not?
I 100% agree with you. It almost feels like an afterthought in a little bit, especially with all the stuff going on in the transfer portal. People are just focused on what next year looks like, and really overall for Arkansas, the disappointment with this season at 6-6. But yeah, you're 100% right. I've said before I would like to see them consider moving these bowl games to week 0, like have the matchups in week 0. And, yeah, just because, I mean, you have – like if you're an NFL prospect, you're not playing, and there's so many players that transfer out and stuff, so maybe it's something to consider doing something like that. That way you still preserve the bowl games. You still have that aspect of it, but now it's a week 0 game. I don't know.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Jarret, I really appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. Sorry for the confusion this morning. It's Christmas, things are happening. So
No worries. All good.
All right.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. That's Jarret Johnson. Again, follow him at Johnson Jarret on X. And if you're a Red Raider fan, listen, and be sure to go to Inside the Red Raiders on the 24/7 Sports Network. I want to mention real quick, everybody, because we have a great show sponsor called Ozarks Go. Ozarks Go is fantastic internet service for you and your family. If you want to give the gift of reliable, consistent internet service, check out ozarksgo.net/hog, HAWG. And if you enter the promo code BIDDY1, then you can get a free month. You can call them at 479-684-4900, where you'll talk to a local person who's going to know if they're available in certain parts of Rogers, if they're available north of the tunnel, if they're available in parts of Oklahoma for you listening out there. Give them a shout, ozarksgo.net/hog, 479-684-4900. I've been a customer of theirs before they were a sponsor of the show after having problems with several different internet service providers and have been extremely pleased with our friends at Ozarks Go. All right, we're going to go to Connor Goodson now, our man Connor Goodson. Connor has had some family issues. Connor, you've certainly been in our thoughts with everything going on. No, it's been super busy with the job, with Christmas, and of course, obviously family matter comes first. But appreciate you taking some time and hopping on with us. How you been?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone's thoughts and prayers. We're making it through. We're making it through. Still not out of the woods, but stuff like this. We got a big dynasty game later.
Yeah, we do.
But stuff like that's helped. Everyone reaching out and really being supportive. It's helped my family and us all really a lot. So yeah. I really appreciate that. But getting to watch some Arkansas basketball also helped.
Yeah,
first time in a week, and then now we got nine more days to wait until they play Oakland. So it's kind of that weird time of year where you're playing one game and then you wait a week and then you play another game, then you wait however many days. It's kind of weird, but it's all gearing up towards conference play, which is, that's going to be a gauntlet this year.
Yeah,
SEC
it is. I can't wait though. It's last time Arkansas played in the Liberty Bowl against Kansas, there was also a basketball game, I believe, the same day. But
that was on the road at LSU.
I believe so. Yeah. At the conference opener. Yeah, that's right. So it's nice, I think, to have a little bit of a gap here. You play a game a week. You got all the portal stuff that's going on that's too much to keep up with anyway, especially if you had basketball. So not too bad just to have the one game. But we do have a dynasty game coming up, Connor. For those of you who follow the Hog Sports dynasty, last year Arkansas won the SEC championship. We did not make the SEC championship game this time, but we are in the college football playoff round one, and it's at your place again. You beat me in the regular season for the first time, I might add. You beat me.
Played out of my mind.
Yeah, you had a great game.
Played, but
I made a lot of mistakes, but we got a rematch today, and we got the tough part of the bracket because it's Oklahoma State who won the SEC championship this year. Who else is up there? Is South Carolina in our side of the bracket? I think maybe Ole Miss is.
Ole Miss is up there, and he's got like Troy and North Texas.
Yeah,
he's got an easier in his way of getting to the championship. With just a gauntlet.
We have a 12-person online dynasty, and our wives it's their favorite thing. It's their favorite thing that we do is play video games. Me as a 47-year-old. She's like, I don't know any other 47-year-olds playing video games, especially as religiously as you do. So she loves it.
You're talking to Danny about, do you ever feel like you actually grow up? Well, when I play this game and as frustrated and as much as I care about this game, it's like taking me back to my youth where I was just, raging at the game and cursing and all kinds of stuff.
I know. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun. That's football. People don't realize sometimes, like I used to always tell a story like when I was a kid and my mom would be like, Trey, calm down. It's just a game. I was like, but this is what I want to be. I want to live and die. I want to ride the roller coaster. I want to, scream at the television, and I want to, raise my hand in victory. I want to hug whoever's next to me when something goes well. That's football. Back to basketball, though. I mean, what are your thoughts so far on just how this team? I mean, they're on a 5-game winning streak right now. They beat Miami. They beat Michigan. Those are 2 notable wins. Anytime you went on the road, obviously, but 2 notable wins. It feels like things are kind of starting to come together for them.
Yeah, and I think that it goes back to you're getting guys healthy, you're getting guys more acclimated. Jonas Adu, is starting to play the minutes that we expected to see from him. Like, he's went out there and gave 22 minutes the other night, but it, almost just, he did get a double-double, but he had 3 assists, 3 blocks, and a steal or some crazy stat line like that. That's what you expected to get from him. And I think you're seeing that kind of open up and guys playing around that where, when you had only Big Z or only Trevin Brazil, it wasn't the same. They didn't have really that bruiser, although, Trevin Brazil's resurgence has been incredive to watch. He's just a completely different player. And you can see that he has really taken it personal, I think, some of the stuff that people were saying to him, and he's really playing with that chip on his shoulder that we hadn't seen the first 2 years he was here. And so you're seeing all these things kind of come together, and you can see where this team's ceiling can be. It's just a matter of getting everyone on the same page. We still haven't seen him at full strength. We thought that we were going to see him Saturday at full strength, but then Nelly Davis, his wrist is still bothering him, so he sits out to nurse that injury a little bit longer. So we still haven't seen this team completely at full strength. Big Z still a shell of himself coming back from that ankle injury suffered earlier in the year. So this team can still be a lot better, which is dangerous to hear. But then you also have the aspect of the SEC is going to be a bloodbath. So you don't really know where they stack up in the pecking order yet. And so that's what I'm most anxious about seeing this first stretch. You start off with a big game against Tennessee at Tennessee. Yep. Number 1 team in the country. That's going to be a real good barometer for where this team is. You suspect
the Jonas Adu game.
Yeah, the Jonas Adu revenge game possibly, or does he get shaken going back to stomping grounds? Because it's going to be an emotional night for him. Do they have Nelly Davis? Do they have Big Z completely healthy? All things to watch. And you can't really overlook the Oakland game either, because Kentucky last year under John Calipari kind of did that in the NCAA tournament, and they got
I like seeing Oakland back on the schedule, though, for them, for Calipari anyway.
No, if you don't think that Calipari had that game circled, you're wrong. You're very, very much wrong. But yeah, so I think that this Saturday was the last kind of we should just be able to go out and roll the ball out, and Arkansas rolls, that kind of mindset. Like those games are done. Oakland, it's going to take some scheming. You're going to have to play your best ball. And then you get into SEC play where there's literally no games where you can circle and say, okay, Arkansas can definitively pick up a win here. Every team is capable of beating everyone, which it's the first time in my lifetime that I've seen that from this league.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost kind of a mirror of the football season. I mean, like, there's so much parity in the SEC, and a lot of this is due to the transfer portal, and it's just a different world right now with college sports. So, but I'm anxious to see SEC. Obviously this Oakland game's intriguing, but anxious to get SEC play started. What's your take on everything going on in the transfer portal? I know you're not our primary transfer portal guy, but I know that you're a guy that likes to follow all that kind of stuff. What do you think about how things have developed so far? It's scary and fun.
Yeah. Well, first off, Danny West is the freaking man covering all that. I mean, he does not get enough respect for what he does.
Dude, I feel for people don't realize, and especially like recruits and transfers, when they're like, I'll be making my decision on Christmas Day, and Danny's just like, damn it. No. So I'm working Christmas, and it happens every year. Every year. I'm announcing at midnight on my mom's birthday. I'm announcing on July 4th, like every single time. And Danny's just like, but he takes it in stride, but he's just like, these kids.
Yeah. And his wife loves it just as much as, as our wives love the football video game.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's my first takeaway is Danny's coverage has been, insane as usual.
Insane.
It just seems like, I think that the other day was a setback, not getting Jarret, not getting a couple other those top guys. You're still looking for that that receiver who could be that wide receiver one out
Mhm.
there. And then, you're still trying to fill some holes in that secondary. I think that they've done a decent job, but I don't think it's one of those things where you're really writing home and you can say definitively that they're going to be better than the
Right.
talent that they had last year. And so obviously there's still time and you're still willing to give them that runway to make some things happen. But I think you can't really just sit there and say, well, definitively on paper, this team's much better. I love what they did on the offensive line. I think that group has the potential to be better than last year's possibly, but there's still a lot of other holes that are glaring right now, and we'll see what they do, but they still have some work to do.
It's too early to look at it and say, okay, are they better at this spot than they were? Because it's incomplete still. I would like to see more additions on the offensive line, but I do think they're in better. Like, to me, the only real loss on the offensive line, in my opinion, was Kudus. I do think he's overrated as a transfer. He's like a 93. I can't believe that they ranked him that high, but we did. Wow. But still, a good player. But to me, Addison Nichols is a very average center. Josh Braun, great guys, by the way. Love both of those guys, but just average players who I thought they hurt Arkansas a lot of times. So I am glad to see some transition there, but obviously losing Kudus was not ideal. So I'm anxious to see. I think they probably got better on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Tight end, not yet. Still got work to do. If they can get Omega Blake and Courtney Crutchfield to go with what they have at wide receiver, I like what they – now, obviously, is anybody an Andrew Armstrong? That's up for debate, but I think they can be better as a whole group at wide receiver with the guy with Sharp and Shanks, and if they get Omega Blake, they get Courtney Crutchfield. I think that there's a lot of potential there at wide receiver. Running back, getting Braylon Russell back, despite how it all happened, the guy can run the ball. I mean, he's got a really good future, in my opinion. So. And got Mike Washington also, who's another big back. So you're not just like one big back and a bunch of small backs. You've got, a couple of options there. And he's a guy that was very productive, an older guy. So there are some positives I think that they've done so far. I like that they have two older corners. I don't know if I'm ready to say like they've upgraded corner, but I like that they've got two older guys who are redshirt seniors. I think that's notable. Defensive line, I think they did some good stuff. Losing Landon Jackson. I think they've got some good young defensive linemen on this team, especially at the end spots. So we'll see how it all shakes out. We'll definitely do a breakdown is Arkansas better off than they were last year through the transfer portal. They definitely lost some guys, that you didn't want to see them lose, but they also, I don't like to say trim the fat, but that's what it is. I mean, it's what it is. You process guys. You have to this day and age. So.
Yeah, and I think some of that goes back to, we discussed it, fans are going to freak out. That was the time a couple of weeks ago was just the time where everyone's leaving. There's no good news coming in, and so everyone's going to freak out, and every loss feels massive. And so when you get guys coming in, and you look at it at face value, well, how good is this offensive lineman from UCF? He can't be that good. It's just the Big 12 or whatever, and then everyone starts comparing offer lists and things like that. And so you kind of get yourself into Alabama and Georgia aren't offering this player, so how good can they be? Mm-hmm. And it's just this cycle of how fans get there. It's to the point where nothing the staff does is going to get any respect or any praise, no matter what they do, until they see the product in the field. And
they got to win.
They've got to win.
This is the hole that they put themselves in. I mean, like, you can't blame the fans, obviously, for being disgruntled, or you or me. I mean, I know we all feel like that. Just like, okay, 6-6 is a big turnaround, I guess. Okay, well, so.
And like Sam Pittman can say all the right things in the press conference. I thought he did about as good a job as you could hope for a coach in his position in that press conference. But it's like, how much? I mean, the time for talk is over. At the end of the day, nothing you say is going to change people's minds or change anyone's perspective on the program. It has to be done on the field, and that's where we're at, and that's where we're going to continue to be at throughout the off season.
Speaking of all that, we've got our press conference with Sam Pittman today at 4:30 also. So a little more talking to go.
Yeah.
All right, Connor. Appreciate you, man.
All right. Thanks, Trey.
All right. We'll match up later, I guess. I'll let you know what
Sounds good.
works for me. You let me know what
Go
works
Tar
for you.
Heels. We'll be looking for another big playoff win and hopefully upset Trey.
Yeah. Hopefully not. All right, brother. Later.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Follow Connor Goodson at Connor Goodson. Does tremendous work for us at Hog Sports, covering Razorback basketball, transfer portal, football. Does a little bit of everything for us. So, but we do have a big game coming up today. First round of the playoff. Arkansas only went 9-3 this year. It was my worst year since year one. But last year won the SEC championship game. We got the squad up to a 95 overall, 94 offense, 96 defense. So we've done some good work in recruiting. But yeah, our wives love us playing this video game. But it's football, and then we get to control our own team. We haven't had it since 2014. So, all right. Let me see if we got any interesting comments here, but we're about to wrap up the show. The more data is a lot of comments, and I appreciate all the comments. I don't see a lot of questions. Mr. Biddy, how are we feeling about Courtney Crutchfield? I like Arkansas's chances with Courtney. I've been hearing about Courtney Crutchfield leaving Missouri, out of the Pine Bluff area and elsewhere, but mainly out of there since early midseason. I've been hearing about that. And I didn't say a whole lot about it just because, don't want to jinx it and all that kind of stuff, but that's what I've been hearing. And when I heard that he's entering the portal, and based on some other things that I heard at the time, I was like, Arkansas, crystal ball. Embrace the sucks as you can't handle the truth. Who thinks we're winning in the portal? Do you think we're winning in the portal? Let's hear your comments below. I want to know what people think. I mean, you've had 24 players hit the transfer portal. A dozen of those guys weren't ever going to play here, or were booted off the team, or quit the team because they didn't get their way. That's about a dozen of them. And then you got a couple other guys that are really promising young players. I really like Malachi Singleton, Tevis Metcalf. You got other guys that were contributing. Other guys that I thought maybe you weren't getting your value out of them. So I'm not just like them, but not disappointed to see them move on to other things. And then conversely, I think they've done some good things on the offensive line. Secondary, it seems like they've done some good things. I have not had a chance to dive into everybody just yet that I want to. And again, I don't like the way everything went down with Braylon Russell. And Danny makes a good point about the message that it sends. But it also maybe can kind of send a cautionary message, of this isn't a good look, because you got to worry about your brand also. In this day and age, if anything you got to worry about is your brand. So I thought the best comment on Braylon Russell's post about, loving Arkansas and loving Sam Pittman, and somebody's like said, this reads like a hostage video. That was a good comment. But the bottom line with Braylon, guys, is the guy can run the ball. Like, I think he has potential with his size and his speed and everything to be like a 1,000-yard back. I think he's got that kind of ability. The thing is, like, you can't be asking for 1,000-yard back money, when you run for 359 yards and stuff. Like, that's just my opinion on it. Like, maybe, I think it would be great if Arkansas is paying Braylon Russell 1,000-yard back money next year. That would be great, because that means he's done it. But there's some figures out there with some guys, Kendrick Law, money that other guys were asking for from Arkansas that started last year that's just ridiculous, just ridiculously high. I mean, Kendrick Law, the number that I heard for him, just like, for a guy that had 10 catches last year, you're just like, okay. All right, some action going on outside. Is Pittman's job on the line? I mean, Pittman's job has been on the line for 2 years. 2 years. Okay. My volume is low. Does anybody else feel my volume is low? Or is your volume low? I haven't changed anything. Let me know if you think my volume is low in the comments, and I'll maybe recalibrate it. Will Danny's podcast be on this channel? Danny's podcast will probably, I don't know what we'll do with that, but it's going to be, usually when Danny does a podcast, it's just available on audio. It's just on our channel. All right. I think we covered it pretty much. I want you guys, You Can't Handle the Truth is very mad. Don't hate Sam Pittman. He's just not the man. What bothers most is those that support him blindly. Here comes the justification. So here's my problem with You Can't Handle the Truth, this guy. It's like there's a debate strategy, and I've talked about this before, where you like make your opponent sound like they believe in something. Like, why do you believe that why do you believe that robbing people is okay? Like my opponent, and then like we'll try to make an argument. Like nobody is saying that Sam Pittman is doing this bang up job, or they're trying to justify. Like I'm not going to repeat myself again, but like I can only say so many times that like I didn't think Arkansas would win more than 5 games this year. I didn't think Sam Pittman would be retained, but yet I'm like, people say like I'm trying to sell them a bill of goods here. Like I'm not. I don't think that 6-6 is good enough this season to get the fans behind you. I don't know how else to say it. So some people just get so spitting mad like this guy that they can't see anything else except for red, and not the good kind of red, not Razorback red, just fury. Okay. We're going to wrap it up. I want to one more time. Hey, if you haven't signed up at Ozarks Go, do so. ozarksgo.net/hog, HAWG. Use the promo code Biddy1. As you can see ticking across here, Hog Sports is 50% off right now. So a good time to sign up. Breaks down to $103 a week, $448 a month, billed at just $53.70 for the entire year. Your husband would enjoy it, ladies listening. Although that's like, I don't know, 4% of my viewing and listening audience. So maybe get it for your dad. Maybe your dad would like it. Yeah, get it for your pappy. Your pappy doesn't know about Hog Sports. He doesn't know about this show. Like your granddad is this big diehard Razorback fan. He can't get enough, but he doesn't know how to use YouTube. He doesn't know how to use his phone. So show him the show. Hook him up. Send him a link to his device. Or give him yours. Let him watch the show. All right, everybody. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. The next time you see me, I guess, I'll be walking around Simmons Banks Liberty Stadium doing the walk and talk. Probably not going to do a lot of walking outside the stadium at night in Memphis, but probably be doing the walk and talk inside the stadium. So it is what it is. Hopefully it's not frigid cold. I haven't even looked at the long-term forecast, but I want to thank everybody for joining us. Bet Saracen has Arkansas at -1.5. Let me know if you agree with that or not. I want to know what you think about the line after listening to everything that Jarret Johnson had to say about Texas Tech. All right. Thanks to Danny West for joining us. Thanks to Jarret Johnson for joining us. Thanks to Connor Goodson for joining us. This has been Trey Biddy with HogSports.com. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.